Let's go back to the Quail for a moment. You mentioned 19 years,
Yeah.
and this is an experience for guests that goes just beyond looking at vehicles. I mean, you have themes that are already set for this year. It'll be the 50th anniversary of BMW's M division. You'll do all things Mini Cooper,
Yep.
70 years of Jaguar and their wins at Le Mans. And then we get into some really interesting stuff. And this is where I want to focus on the Quail being very different than a lot of other
Sure.
concours or shows that exist around the country. You have pre-war sports and racing, you have post-war sports, you have the evolution of the supercar and the times that I've been there, the great Ferraris that are there. And of course, the show is more than just about a Ferrari GTO as an
Right.
example,
Right.
but also the custom coach work. I mean, you there's so much interesting and unique models that exist on the field that I don't know that there's another place that I've been, Gordon, that would have the same kind of eclectic collection. It's almost like it's like walking into your own personal garage, which we will talk about, or the garage of a Bruce Meyer or a
Right.
Rick Hendrick
Mm.
or any of those folks. The best from all different eras. Tell me about the philosophy around that.
It's really simple and eclectic. The word you just used is really the definitive word of what you'll see at that show. And it's been like that for me since day one. For some reason, Jason, I have never had a problem viewing things through everyone's eyes. There's a lot of car guys will get somewhat cornered into what their interest is. You're a Porsche guy, or you're a Ferrari guy, or a Chevy guy, or whatever it might be, right? I certainly have my own personal interests, but I appreciate, the whole gamut, the whole. I think it's really cool to see people just get incredibly excited about things like custom coachwork cars. They may not be your cup of tea, but you look at some of these things. I know Rick Dorr has brought cars to us over the years. You look at some of that handcrafted stuff and you think, this car is ever as much as interesting as a GTO Ferrari. And if you talk to the guy that built it, he's actually a little bit closer to the car than the guy that wrote the check for the, no disrespect, for the
Right.
GTO, and to me, that's what makes the event interesting, is those stories behind these people. It was really funny. We had a Triumph Spitfire there one year, and I was kind of mocked a little bit by some friends for, what is a Spitfire doing at the Quail, right? It was really the story. It was owned by an Air Force serviceman. It was his father's car. His father had passed away. He'd restored the car to absolute perfection. I mean, it was a 100-point Spitfire, if there's such a thing, if you can imagine, right? No
Right.
disrespect to Spitfires, but it's not the first car you think of when you think of 100 points, right? Uh, Story behind that car. I thought, this guy, his love for that car and the connection that that car means to him in relationship to his father, that's priceless in my book. And there he is on our show field telling that story and sharing that car with, anyone that has an interest in it. He was getting asked questions all day long, and I thought, that's what it's all about. It's about diversity, and it's not just big, heavy duty, valuable cars. We all know what those are, and they'll be there. But I think it's fun to balance it out with whimsical stories. I mean, the All Things Mini. I mean, that's just lighthearted. But then you look at the Mini Cooper; they weren't so lighthearted. I mean, they won the Monaco Rally. They
Right. Right.
impressive weapons, but yet people look at them and they smile. Like the year we had the Volkswagen buses on our road activation. I think we had about 10 significant, I mean, really early, really rare, the kind of thing you don't expect to see during Car Week. That's what we love bringing to the table at the Quail, is to see something you just didn't expect to see that in August in Monterey.
Well, and isn't it interesting too? I've seen through the years the opportunity for automakers to launch vehicles at the Quail. I
Yeah,
mean, that newly launched vehicles or a first time launch
yeah,
appears at a car show. I mean, traditionally, those would have been reserved for the Genevas, the
industry.
Detroits, the New Yorks, and
Yeah,
now all of a sudden, I might see something that I've never seen before, brand new.
yeah.
And yet, in the middle of the field, you'll have, I know, a vehicle near and dear to your heart, but a Datsun.
Yeah,
And that is that mix. It is
yeah.
old, it is new, it's traditional, it's classic, it's all of that wrapped in one.
Jason, I think, and you're absolutely spot on. And I think what we've done over the years is we've brought essentially a new platform for these OEMs. Like you said, it was traditionally, it was to the press at specific industry events, right? And I wouldn't consider Monterey Car Week necessarily an industry event. I mean, there's certainly elements of it that are.
Yeah, it's become that.
But it's an end user. It's a lot of end users, a lot of everybody's best customers. The 100,000 or so people that flock to the Monterey Peninsula are everybody's best customer. And so what we've done is managed to provide this platform. So not only are these cars being launched through the media outlets, which all the important ones are there, but there's also people there that are going to buy what they see.
Yeah, right. They're going to write the check.
They're going to write the check. And that's important. And if you can actually streamline that process of, they don't even have to read the story about it because they just heard about it from the CEO of the company that was on the platform identifying this new car.